Good morning. The councillors, CEO, acting CEO, and the directors. Welcome. The traditional custodians of this wonderful place we call home have represented a human footprint here for over 2,500 generations. So as a community, as a council, we pay our respects to the traditional custodians and honour their elders, past, present, and those emerging. And welcome to our online audience. As you know, this meeting is being streamed live and recorded in accordance with Council's adopted standing orders. And everybody participating is giving their consent to their image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Nobody in the public gallery today except our pastor, so welcome to the online audience. Right, I declare the meeting open. Thanks very much. And welcome to our acting CEO.
Mickey.
The other acting CEO is off from home. Our opening prayer today, Brett Gibson from the Life Impact Church. Brett.
Thank you, Mayor Greg Williamson and our valued members of Council. It is a great honour and privilege for me this morning to have this privilege to open this morning's meeting in prayer. Let's pray. Almighty God, this morning it is my great honour to be called upon to pray to you on behalf of our council leaders. Today, as our leaders meet to revise, to plan, to dream, to consult, to discuss all our city's pressing needs and requirements, both today and in the future, I pray that you would grant wisdom, courage, and insight. Almighty God, may innovation and creativity flow. May you inspire and empower the plans for our future. May you make a way where the way has been clouded or hindered or confused. May you authorise breakthrough, clarity, and vision. May our leaders receive directly from you the inspiration each seeks to serve our community with the distinction they desire. I thank you, Almighty God, that you hear and answer prayer, that you are intimately connected to and care and cover all our city's concerns. I thank you that in every city that you are received in, your kingdom, power and glory and provision flows. And the privilege I carry this morning to petition you, to seek you and to pray is at the request of Mackay City Council. So Almighty God, we have received you and are seeking you. And it is my fervent expectation that you are responding, God, that you are moving, and that your power as our God, my God, is active and present in the midst of this meeting and our city's life. Thank you, Almighty God, for your impact in our lives and the life of our city. And so, my God, I also ask that you would multiply your grace, your mercy, your peace, and your truth in and over each person represented here this morning, over their family and over their loved ones, over the place of their dwelling, Father God, and over all the things they place their hands to. May there be healing where there is sickness. May there be joy where there is grief. And may you grant grace and hope in all despair. Father, may it be to all of us, according to every promise, every plan, every idea, and every intent that your word declares over us and for us. May it be to us according to all the word. In the mighty and powerful name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Brett. Thank you. There's nobody absent on council business. Before we go on with the meeting, there's an important acknowledgement I think we should do at the table right now. A couple of days ago, actually on the 9th of May, Councillor Bonaventura clocked up 10 years as an elected member. Congratulations, Councillor Bonaventura. It's nice to be able to acknowledge it so close to the time at a council meeting.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Does he get a watch or something?
No, there's no gold watch yet.
That's good, right?
Apologies, there's nobody absent on council business. Apologies, there's a motion that Councillor Jones be granted leave of absence for today's meeting, so we have to move. Councillor Mann moves, seconded by Councillor Green. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried, thank you. Condolences. I think with the council's leave, I'd like to offer condolences to Keith McCulloch. the family of Keith Mackay. Keith's Pam Jenke's father. Pam was our Executive Support Officer in the Office of the Mayor and CEO. He passed away on the 7th. And so to Pam and Gavin, and to Barry and Michelle, and to Ken, and of course to his wife Mavis, I'd like the council to extend our sincerest condolences to the family and the extended family. Are there any other condolences? No other condolences? Let's move on. Any conflicts of interest to declare today? Confirmation of the minutes then of the 27th of April, the ordinary meeting minutes have actually been included in this agenda. That's simply because of what happened in Pam's life, so that's why they're in this agenda.
I enjoyed reading those, Your Worship. Can we continue with that, or is there a reason we don't put it in? I know they used to be in there years ago, and since we've gone to live broadcast, we don't have them in, but...
Well, we circulate them generally. They are circulated prior to the meeting. That was requested before so that councillors could actually read them and have any questions submitted. This is simply because we had a little bit of a hiccup in the office.
Yeah. Just purely for public transparency and giving the public the opportunity to read what transpired.
Yeah, we can do both. Righto. Thank you. You can do that.
Thank you.
So would somebody like to move that the minutes be received? Councillor Bonaventura moves, Councillor Hassan seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Right, we can have the minutes first of all. So there's no mayoral minutes today. Let's move on then to the consideration. I missed something. I missed one. There we go. Business arising. The business arising has been included in the agenda. There's only 2 items in business arising. So we'll move on then. There's no mayoral minutes. Consideration of committee reports. Draft minutes of the Traffic Advisory Committee. Councillors, this has come to council a couple of times now in a different format where, as you'll notice, there's a lot of recommendations to be approved by council within the minutes. The motion to be received used to come to us with the reception of the minutes and then all of the items that needed to be endorsed listed. They are included in the minutes, but if you read the minutes, it's subject to council approval on a number of them. So there may be an opportunity for councillors to actually either challenge or want to speak to some of those motions. Now, this is not a comment on the actions of the committee, it's just a comment on the report and the way it comes up for council's adoption. So I'd really like to see this revert to its original format where there's a minutes and then the recommendations for council to approve come back to the table in that format. I don't know, does anybody have a comment around that?
Yeah, as Chair, Your Worship, happy to see that happen because certainly with the amount of agenda items that come there, that there's speed reductions or being left the same, I think it's important that councillors have a chance to see each one and understand it, because I was going to speak quickly on them, but it would be far better if we could have it there.
Okay, so...
Just a question.
Yes, question.
So to lay it on the table, do we need a mover and a seconder first?
You don't need a seconder for a procedural motion,
No,
but if it came back to
to
us
have a motion.
with...
So to have the motion, do we need to have somebody move that and then lay it on the table?
Yes, we've got to have a motion before we can lay it on the table, Other than that, CEO, we can withdraw it from the agenda and bring it back.
Yeah, the easiest worship is probably to get someone to move it, and if it's the feel of the table,
Yeah,
you can then
that's the only way you can have a procedural motion, yeah. Okay, so it's somebody like to move this and then we can bring it back. Councillor Bonaventura, happy to move? Okay. Councillor Bonaventura moves. Is there a seconder? We need a seconder, otherwise it's not a motion. Councillor Hassan seconds.
Happy to move to lay it on the table.
Councillor May moves that we lay it on the table and we bring it back
To the next
meeting in an amended format. Those in favour? Any against? It's carried. Thank you. As I said, it's not a comment on the actual workings of the committee, but it's and I think you've endorsed it, Councillor Bonaventura, in those words. If we can bring it back and people can talk about it then. 11.1.1, the Office of the Mayor and CEO Monthly Review Report for April 2022. CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a pleasure to present the report on behalf of Acting CEO Angela Hayes, who's currently away. Firstly, a correction. We did have a lost time injury during April, so there was one extra lost time injury for 2 days. The stats are the same though. We've still got a total of 10 lost time injuries and 132 days year to date at the end of April. It's just we actually had one lost time injury during April. With 2 months to go to the end of the financial year and the reporting period, we're on track to better the lost time days for the year. It's still not where we want to be, but it's certainly an improvement on the previous 2 years. Just a comment, after 2 years, the LDMG has moved to stand down regarding the COVID pandemic, which is probably an indication of what's happening in the community as well. And just finally, following the adoption of the corporate plan by Council, there's been a lot of significant work within Council departments and programs who have all been meeting to develop directorate plans and program plans. They'll flow through to the development of an operational plan, which we'll be bringing back to brief Council for ultimate adoption in line with the budget program. Otherwise, I'm happy to accept any questions.
Thanks, CEO. Questions on the report? Councillor Bell.
I know right at the end the Regional Council of Mayors gives us a purpose, representing Regional Queensland Mission. And it mentions a number of points. Those points there, are they wholly and solely the points, or are there are they an example, or are there any further points? Because it's quite alarming to me that there's no mention of mining, agriculture, or indeed environmental maintenance of our not only like private lands, but national parks, all of which feed into tourism. We've named an industry here, but other industries seem to have been completely ignored in it.
Well, they're not exclusive, Councillor Bella, so they just haven't come up on the table so far. So
could I suggest that you bring that up? And
absolutely.
Because if it's not named, can't see it, can't be it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Point taken. Further questions? No further questions? Councillor Bonaventure?
I think it's on page 109. We've done the internal audit plan there, just in relation to on asset management. It states COVID fraud impact assessment, and it's got the green tick, so I assume it's completed. No, it's commenced and is in progress. Do we have any real fears in that area, Acting CEO, or are we quite happy that it's just a matter of doing some checking?
Yes, that's through you, Worship. No, there's no issues in that area.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Further questions? No further questions? Simply like to move the report's adoption. Councillor May moves the report's adoption. Councillor Green seconds. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. This month we see the $6 million coming in external grants, of which federal assistance grant has been prepaid earlier this financial year, which is quite an accounting nightmare for the council. But we need to deal with those things. Just on the safety, I just pull out of the report that there were 77 safety interactions were undertaken this month, 22 site safety inspections, and 93% of the monthly action plan activities were carried out, which I think is a great response to our Safety First campaigns. And it's great to see that the staff are really looking and getting behind those safety initiatives. And of course, this month we had our Council and Community Day. It was very much a council-focused day this day, where we visited lots of council projects. Glenella Richmond Road was on our list to inspect. The Imeo Creek boat ramp, the installation of the CCTV and solar lighting there. Pappy's Beach estate development. The Imeo and Blacks Beach Road share path construction, and Imeo Beach in regards to the signage down there at Imeo Beach. The other points that I would like to raise or to make mention of is the business improvement program. We established this business improvement unit a few months ago now, and they've been working diligently through the comprehensive list of as-is initiatives that have been developed in collaboration with the senior leadership team. And this data will be presented to the executive leadership team, informing our strategic priorities of resources. And the other, I think, part in the business improvement to pull out is the action plan to address the opportunities for improvement within the HR functions has commenced. So that's a good step forward. I too would like to mention our emergency management department and the COVID-19 pandemic response. And after 2 years now of being active in the LDMG, we have gone to stand down very briefly as we went to lean forward yesterday in the imminent disaster or the flooding happening. So it was very brief, but we did stand down for the day. During that course of time, there has been an enormous amount of work undertaken by the Emergency Management Department, along with the support of the LDMG members. And one of those has been the development of a pandemic subplan. And there has been a number of other subplans developed as well. It's probably record-breaking to say that we have had the LDMG in activation for a 2-year period. That would be history in the making, that's for sure. Another great thing that come out of the Emergency Management Department is the Youngler Community Resilience Planning. And it was great to see that 10 community members attended the first meeting back in April. And it was some great discussions around some of the challenges and gaps during disasters, information obtained, and the development of a community risk profile. So that'll be something for us to watch and to see how that develops over time. I would also like to call out the SES operations. They've been doing a great deal of training over the last month and needed competencies to maintain a range of functions. And we'll see from the report there that the SES unit has had its final assessment of 11 new floodboat operators in the Pioneer River. So after 8 months of training, they will now be able to increase the operational capacity of the SES floodboat crew, which is fantastic. Also, we call out of the report the SES membership, and I know that the controller has been working diligently with all of our subgroups around membership and activate, keeping members informed and engaged. And just read out the numbers there: 167 active members, 22 reserves, 22 new members. Recruitment campaigns are ongoing in Midge Point and Calum, and we have 6 new applicants. So that's a great effort for the SES controller to be undertaking that work with the help of all of the volunteers in the SES. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Ballard, speaking for.
I'd just like to once again comment on the Regional Queensland Council of Mayors segment. In conversations with yourself regarding the flying fox problem in Serena. While I completely understand the importance of these creatures to our natural environment, having a large and increasingly large colony directly over tourist and recreational infrastructure that cost us many thousands of dollars pose a massive health risk to our population of visitors. Aesthetically, it's also quite disconcerting when that stench wafts across one of our premier tourist greeting areas and tourist information areas. To see in a council publication a month ago, from last month, that there are actually grants looking at relocation is a good thing. I think we should be looking at that, but also for you yourself to talk to other councils that have gone down this path for any number of years, and maybe it's time when we did present a united front to the government, because while they're an important animal, our people are important. There's plenty of other areas for flying fox. There are very few other areas for our people. So it's something that needs to be addressed, and I encourage you to...
Thanks very much, Councillor Ballard. Yes, it is underway with the Executive Officer of the Regional Queensland Council of Mayors, and that's our intent, is to gather forces and make a combined approach to the government. There's a lot of other councils in our boat, and I must admit we were aware of that funding program. So
Thank you.
We might gather our forces and take advantage of the funding program, and then talk to the government about it. Thanks very much. Councillor Bonaventura, you're speaking for?
Yes, Your Worship. Just want to follow on from Councillor May in relation to our Council and Community Day. Just in particular, Richmond-Glenelg Road. As we're all aware, we've had some issues with that, and it was a great opportunity for all councillors to have a look firsthand at the issues on that road. and to come up to speed with what it's like and what we've been getting told. And I do, Your Worship, look forward to a report from the Director to come to this council as to the best way to rectify that issue, because none of us want to see it deteriorate the way it is. So we'll be looking forward to that report.
Yeah, thanks very much, Councillor Bonaventura. Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Thank you. 11.1.2 is the adoption of council policies. Policy number 90, which is the naming of infrastructure assets, and policy number 24, the driveway and property access crossing road reserves. So are there questions about these policies? They've been circulated. It's an opportunity. Okay, if there's no questions, would somebody like to move the adoption of council policies number 90 and number 24 as put forward in the agenda? Councillor May moves. Councillor Bonaventura seconds. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Worship. It's these are fairly straightforward policies. We've had these policies in existence before, and it just clearly sets out what council's intent is. Of course, applications for naming of assets and naming of parks can come to council, and if council considers them, you know, they can go outside of the policy if they choose. But this really does set the framework and gives the public the guidance that's required in you know, naming assets and formalising driveways.
Okay, thank you. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? It's carried. Thank you very much. 11.1.3, this is an amendment to our delegations. In the situation we find ourselves in with the CEOs, the advice from our legal department, we needed to just clean this up in terms of our delegation authority. Any questions? No questions, so we'd like to move the adoption then.
So moved.
Councillor May moves, Councillor Green seconds. Councillor May. Okay, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Our reports now. Capital Works is the monthly report for April. Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. Happy to present the Capital Works report for April. On safety, we had no lost time injuries in the month, which was good to see. One incident where we had a truck run over a covered water service. We are seeing good adherence and reporting from our staff on the safety front, but we've still got issues with contractors and their reporting timeframes back to us as per our contract requirements. So we've got a bit of a focus on that at the moment, and we are working with our contractors, our contracts area, and our delivery teams, of course, to make sure that we are getting that reporting back within the 1 hour from when incidents occur. And just on that, we are getting a few contractors to come in and talk to us about some of the incidences, I suppose, that haven't been reported and what we can do moving forward to remedy that. In terms of financials, we've got a year-to-date spend of $77.3 million on our capital program, which is about $2.2 million below the forecast for the year-to-date at that time. Some of the underspends, I suppose, in the month were plant and equipment. So in particular, we had a trailer for the library truck. We've received the trailer, I believe, or we do have issues with the trailer's compliance. So although we've progressed that work, we actually aren't accepting of the state it's in, I suppose, and so there's some compliance issues there, which is why we haven't paid and therefore haven't spent the money in that period. The Animal Management Centre, which we visited last week, again on building 3, we had some compliance issues with the slab that went down, so we had to work through those with the contractor. They've now been remedied, but it was a whole point for them to notify council and provide certain documentation at that time, and of course we wouldn't allow them to move past that point, but as I said, they've now got the structural engineers involved to remedy that issue, but that led to the significant underspend in the month on that particular component. Seagull Street program, again, we've reported this previously, but it's really an ongoing issue. We have an internal staff shortage, but also the inability to access subcontractors for concrete works, some asphalt works, and some other particular issues there that are holding up the finalisation of that work. We now believe we have those secured, but that has again led to that underspending month for that particular project. Kamala again has ongoing labour shortages. They just have no ability in the month to get people from their crews onto site and get the work done that they were looking to do, but they've also got a problem securing local subcontractors with, again, concreting, shed building, those sorts of things, a couple of the issues they've got in particular. And the other one in the table on page 144 is the sewer manhole relining program. Again, there were some delays related to the floods in the southeast of a particular compound that we get to reline those manholes. So that led to a delay in the start of that particular package of work associated with that program, and there's $191,000 underspend in the month for them. So there's just a few examples which add up to probably about $1 million of underspend in that program. We had about 10 projects completed in month, another 20 underway that are in the report, which are due for completion in the next couple of months. Good to see the Pioneer River North Bank shared path progressing again. There was a little bit of a hold up getting access to CPB's site, or part of their site, particularly on the northwest corner near Harvey Norman. We've now got access to that site, and the contractor Fergus can progress that work, so that's moving along again. Shakespeare Street Drain, again, very delayed project, but good to see that's now complete, and certainly fix up some of the localised flooding issues we did have in that area. Northern Beaches Community Hub, the earthworks and infrastructure design packages are much closer to completion. We expect those next month. And also getting out the detailed design for stage 1A and 1B, which are the buildings. We'll get that out in the next week or two to the lead consultant. Good to see we'll get out the tender for Seaforth Esplanade. So that will be an open public tender for the construction of Seaforth. That'll go out by the end of this week. So that'll be good to see. And Northview Park was open and very well used over the weekend, and every day that I've been past it, I certainly live nearby, and Northview Park's looking very good. We are continuing to see big issues with staff resourcing. So we've not only got 20 vacancies ourselves in capital, but which is around 20% of our workforce, but just securing contractors around the region is continuing to be a difficulty, and probably something we're not seeing a relief of in the short term. So the executive are talking about different avenues for engaging contractors, different avenues for recruiting that we can hopefully put in place that will give us a bit of relief in that space. So, and just also on Glenella Richmond Road, we did go and visit that again last week, and Councillor Bonaventura mentioned it. We've got different options together now in a report for how we complete that work, and we'll bring that to a briefing next week on the 18th of May to Council, just to confirm what we plan to do there. So thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Director. Questions at all for the Director? Councillor May.
Just in relation to the Diane Street Park, and this has been on the agenda for quite some time now, around the play equipment that we purchased that seems to be not compliant. How does that happen? How can we buy equipment that is not meeting the standards?
So it's not the equipment itself that's not meeting the standard, it's once it's installed with all the other elements in the park. There's been a disconnect between the supplier and the design of the park itself. So for example, the distances between a piece of equipment on the playground equipment and something else in the park, or a fall height, and the clearance that's needed that's associated with that fall height. So it's been an oversight in, I suppose, the preparation of the entire design as opposed to the piece of equipment being non-compliant. So that said, it is a messy situation that we're working through, and we will avoid going forward because we won't engage in the way we did on that particular one. The way we engaged on that is we had someone supplying the equipment, someone else installing it, and other people doing a third package of work in the park. So that's obviously caused the problems that we're now seeing. It's unfortunate, but it's a situation where we simply not to open that park until we get those compliance issues sorted. So we are working through it with the supplier, with the installers, and obviously the designers.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Seymour.
On relation to the mountain bike track, have council secured a lease on that lot 101 yet, as yet? For the
Director, yeah.
Yeah. No, we're still in negotiations with the property owner there about that. We're drafting an MOU, a heads of agreement at the moment, to talk to that property owner about the stage 1 package of works that's outlined in the documentation or the report, but we certainly haven't got a lease yet with them. Yeah, we met again with them yesterday, by the way, though, so conversations are heading in the right direction, and yeah, we will get there.
Really good.
Very good. Councillor Hassan.
I'm not sure it's entirely relevant to this report in its current format, but just mentioning the Northern Beaches Community Hub, attending the Olympics 2032 task force meeting we had last night. Mark Stockwell made a good comment about the master planning for that and the potential to maybe include sports that are Olympic sports and build things to Olympic standard. I know that master planning is well advanced, but is there any potential to maybe have a look at that and see if there is, any capacity to include Olympic level?
I think it's probably outside the confines of this report, but
Yeah,
it's certainly something we need to put on the table in terms of our future planning. Yeah,
We can take that back.
Yes.
We've got a few members here in the directorate who are on the PCG for that project, so we can probably bring that back and have a look at it. All right.
Certainly. Other questions? Councillor Bonaventura.
I got two, Your Worship, but if I could start on the Seaforth Esplanade, so it's really good to see that we're going out to tender. Was out there a week ago actually, and just got to have a comparison at some stage between the amount of shade being provided in the new plan in comparison with what we currently have. While I was out there, people were interested in what was happening, so I sort of brought it up on the phone and showed them, and that was their first comment. Oh, there doesn't appear to be too much shade. And I know we've got that big curved shade area out the front of the swimming enclosure.
Yeah.
Can I just please get a comparison to the amount of square metres undercover?
Yeah, we can ask the design team to do that.
Yeah, okay.
That would be very much appreciated. Right, second question. The poor old Wallen Street drain, and I note by the current report that by the time it's finished, weather permitting, it will be almost 12 months in the making. And I hope they do get it finished by then, but it's just more wondering how we're going budget-wise, and I do feel for them, for the contractor, but how are we going budget-wise on that one?
Director.
Yeah, look, we're going fine budget-wise because we're not spending obviously the amount that we would have, and it's a fixed lump sum contract. So yes, the contractor would be wearing those mobilisation costs, but they're not a local Mackay contractor, so they got costs on the ground. They are a little bit fortunate, they've got another project just down the road, so they are able to flip between Milton Archibald project and the Wallen Street drain with some of their resources, so that
That does help.
I imagine is helping them. But, yeah. Hope that answers that question.
Good enough, thank you.
Further questions? No further questions? Somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Englert moves, Councillor Green seconds. Councillor Englert.
Thank you, Worship. As the Director stated, no lifetime injuries. Year-to-date capital project spend is currently at 97.2%. With regards to the Kamala quality upgrade water treatment plant, that's been going on for some time, but as the Director stated in the report, there's been some, the contractors, there's a lot of contractors experiencing problems with regards to COVID and resource of supplies. Pioneer River North Bank, as mentioned by the Director, we're looking at a June 2022 revised date. Works have been significantly hampered by the wet weather. And as Councillor Bonaventura stated, Wallen Street drain, I think we've just had enough talk about that and the wet weather and COVID impacts on that as well. Councillors did get the opportunity to go to the Animal Management Centre, and it's the outcome is, I think, met the expectations of council, being able to see all the little puppy dogs housed more appropriately and a safer, more clean environment for them. It's a safer, more clear environment for our officers. And we almost had 3 puppies adopted by 3 separate councillors on the day. I think one of those has currently fallen through because permissions weren't sought from the rest of the family. But anyway, that's an excellent outcome for the officers and for the animal management in the region. Seaforth Esplanade, so that's a child's program, water feature, new public amenities and accessible adult change facility. And we're looking at what the Director said. Riverside revitalisation, Riverlink, Riverside Pontoon and 8 River Street improvements, looking at late this year for getting those. And the mountain bike trails, it was good to see that there's a lot of work being done on the trailhead, and the ground truthing and cultural heritage investigations are currently underway, and we're hoping to have something happening by August of this year.
Thanks very much, Councillor Englert. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Councillor Bella speaking for.
I just want to make mention of the Kamala water treatment plant. I'm starting a happy circumstance of being able to call in there quite regularly, just on the drive past or picking up grandkids next to it. And I feel their pain a little bit. They actually have said to me a few times, very hard to get anyone there. It is somewhat ironic that the delivery of quality water is being held up by a feed of quality water. But Kamala has historically had the worst water apart from Kalen. Kalen has had a water treatment plant for a very long time. The quality of the water has not only impacted the ability to drink the water, aesthetically it's not great, but has also impacted people's hot water systems and various other items. So I'll be very glad to see it come. It has been a long time, and I just ask people just hang on, it's on the way.
Thanks very much, Councillor Dalla. Any other speakers? Put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Community and Client Services monthly report for April. Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. It gives me pleasure to once again present the Community and Client Services report. Also pleasing to note that there were no lost time injuries across the month, and in fact there were very few safety incidents involving our staff for the month. There were, however, some varying degrees of injury to visitors to some of our facilities, and that just brings to the fore what the Deputy Mayor mentioned before about the level of training and commitment that our staff do have to a safety culture, and to know that people who do attend our facilities, given unforeseen circumstances, are going to be in good hands. And that also goes to how professional and how well trained our frontline staff are. So I'd like to commend them in those incidences as well. So in terms of the activities within the month, we received feedback from our Youth Out Loud initiative, which is approaching 1,000 interviews now, that the young people of the region want activated spaces for with activities for young people. So it was pleasing in partnership with with Youth Week that we were able to put some open air movie nights on that were well attended at Marion and Serena. Unfortunately, the one at Mackay had to be cancelled and it became unsafe to hold up with strong winds. So the local people there didn't get the opportunity, but they were very well attended events, and we hope to continue those kind of things into the future. With our libraries initiative for strolling stories, they've been very well received across the region. It's a great way to get families out and interacting and improving the literacy of young people in the region. So in April, we had the opportunity to activate one of those at Serena Beach. So using the story, One Remarkable Reef, that follows on from some that were, the previous one was at the Botanical Gardens, and we had a counter there, and over 4,000 people moved through that strolling story, and were able to interact and even through augmented reality bring up some of the pages as well. So it's just great that people can get out and about and explore those things. And we've also had those installations at Queen's Park and Mackay Esplanade at various times as well. Artspace Mackay's biennial event, the Libris Awards, was held during the month as well. So that event is held biennially. It's been held since 2006, so for 16 years. That event is very important to the positioning of Artspace as a premier regional arts facility, and we're very pleased in how that's progressed, and we now have the leading regional acquisition of those kind of artists' contributions, because we purchase some of those the best, and it's only surpassed by some of the national and state gallery collections that ours is not the best in. So it's very pleasing to be able to continue to support that one. It was a great foresight by people back in 2006 to commit to that. At the MEC, a sellout festival-like performance of the Over 18 Dirty Laundry show by Briefs headlined a very busy month for April. It's great now. The masks are off and people are coming back, that we're getting sold out shows. Also the 43rd Australian Society of Sugarcane Technologists 3-day conference, which is the premier technical and professional event for the sugar industry in Australia. Attracted 300 delegates, so great that they can all come together in a place that is renowned for that kind of industry, but great for the economy as well. The Mackay Festival of Arts premier event or iconic event, the Wine and Food Day, has secured a new naming rights sponsor. So that event, which will be held at Queen's Park on the 16th of July, will now be known as the Wisely Wine and Food Day. Corporate Communications, in partnership with the RSL, delivered the Anzac Day service, dawn service and parade. That was inclement weather, but it didn't stop the people turning up, and the same with all of the events across the region as well, as a mark of community respect. The online engagement and the viewership of the live streaming events for the parade in Mackay as well, it reached the highest level that we've had as well, probably because not everyone came out, but it's still fantastic that the events were so well attended in person and that people supported them online as well, to tribute to community support. Heavy rain that was one of the features of last month, and I dare say will be one of the features this month as well, brings to light the mosquito issue. So what happens is that the saltwater ones, which we really focus on throughout the year, because they thrive in the mangroves and the conditions of Mackay, they get flushed out in the rain. So when we see mosquitoes after heavy rains, it's typically because of fresh water, and so it's a timely reminder for residents to check their property and to get rid of any low-lying water, if it's collected in palm fronds, other water-containing receptacles, because that's typically where they're going to experience those mosquitoes from. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director. Questions for the Director? Councillor Seymour.
Yeah, on the with the weeds, there's been a decline in the spraying of the weeds in the last couple of months. Is that because it's under control, or is it a chemical that source of the chemicals?
So we've still got sufficient chemical. It's just the staff resourcing at the moment. The environmental health area and health and regulatory services in general have been fairly impacted. That's a combination of vacancies and hard to fill roles, absences as a result of illness and just generally people taking leave, and also COVID has strongly impacted that team as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions? No further questions? Somebody like to move the adoption? Councillor Green moves, Councillor Townsend seconds. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, Queensland Youth Week was April 1st to the 11th, and we did see a host of activities on offer in celebration for our youth community this year. And as the Acting Director said, the open air movie nights in Morani and Serena were well attended and a lot of fun. But I'd like to focus today on the Youth Out Loud YOL 1000 project. They hosted 2 workshops during this week, one for stakeholders and one for young people. Yourself, myself, Councillor May, Councillor Jones and Councillor Mann participated in the stakeholders workshop.
Not as a young person.
Yeah, you're in the young person. The YOL team has achieved a significant body of work, completing over 950 out of 1,000 conversations with young people aged 10 to 21 across our region. And the YOL data team ensures that there's widespread and diverse targeting of these voices as well, and when they see a gap, they then communicate to the conversations team to ensure that we're really picking up the voices right across our regions, Indigenous voices, LGBTQI voices. We're getting a really great, in-depth, collective data of the wants and needs of our youth in the Mackay region. And these one-on-one conversations have been conducted by a small core team, so if you can imagine the amount of work and time that's gone into having 950 to date conversations out of 1,000, we just really can't celebrate and express the significance of the data that represents, that collective voice of 1,000 conversations in the end. And we really do need to celebrate and put that out to the community, what that data represents and what we can do with that, and that then helps us with planning and addressing the needs of our region's youth and our region's youth in particular. This is what's coming back from our youth. So already the data collected has been groundbreaking. And the recent workshop focused on, as I said, celebrating and recognising the achievement to date, but also starting to look ahead towards how do we plan and strategise the next steps to really create that effective and collective change that we'd like to see for the Mackay region's youth. So congratulations to the team to date, and looking forward to the outcome.
Thanks, Councillor Green. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Townsend is speaking for.
Thank you, Worship. April was a huge month for our community and client services team, and it saw them deliver quite a large number of programs, workshops and events. One of was a recruiting volunteers workshop facilitated by Volunteering Queensland, which saw 20 participants attending on the day. Volunteers play a very important role within our community, and we cannot underestimate the value they bring to our community. A workshop that will give attendees important points to take back to their groups is invaluable. Greater Whitsunday Communities facilitated a strategic planning and business continuity workshop, and this is important training also for all community groups, and I'm certain the participants found this workshop invaluable for their organisations. I was fortunate to attend the Libris Awards at Artspace on the 9th of April, and as our director said, it is a biannual calendar event, and it is a great opportunity to celebrate the artist book form, which saw a record number of entries this year. Wet weather certainly didn't dampen the Anzac spirit in our region, and large turnouts were recorded, and I must say here I did thoroughly enjoy visiting the outlying communities of Kalen and Gargett to attend the dawn and afternoon services. April saw Council launch the illegal dumping campaign, Not in My Backyard, designed to overcome the ever-increasing problem of illegal dumping within our community. We certainly encourage our residents to report any illegal dumping sightings to Council. I'd like to extend my thanks to the Director and his team for their hard work during the month of April.
Thanks, Councillor Townsend. Councillor Bello is speaking for.
I'd like to pick out two particular sections of this report. Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Townsend for bringing up questions on spraying of weeds, which is a bit of a pet of mine. But the area I'd like to first mention is illegal dumping, and I'd like to cover a couple of points and cover a couple of misconceptions that people have. Illegal dumping is not because of the charges we have for disposal of waste. Disposing waste costs us money, and dump fees are basically a user pays. Otherwise, the cost needs to be borne by the average ratepayer, many of whom don't actually go to our dumps. They can fit it in a bin. What a lot of people don't realise is our dumping practices of the past, which were appropriate then, are still costing us money. We have to look after dumps, Bayersville, for example, for up to 40 years because of the gas and all that sort of thing that are still being exuded, if you want to call it that. The other thing to take notice of, and the reason I know personally that the price of dumping does not influence the amount of illegal dumping, is the property we own in other regions, my family does, has just as much illegal dumping where they have free dump facilities as does our region. But when you look at this, what heartens me is the amount of offenders caught. But if you look at it, there's 3.77% of dumping is cleaned up by the landowner where it's dumped. You might say that's not many, but it tends to be the same poor old landowner every time, just because of the geographic location or the screening or things such as that. The other proportion, Council does a great job, 70% of the clean-up. But while Council's doing it, it's the average ratepayer paying for it. So I'd say to people, you know, if you use the stuff, pay to get rid of it. Have a think about the quality of what you buy before you buy it, because it's going to have to be dumped. And if it's going to have to be dumped in 10 years, great. But if you buy something that's going to be dumped in one, well, you're going to be dumping it 10 times. So moving on to my next bit, as the Director spoke about, was the amount of freshwater mosquitoes, Aedes aegypti. It is basically the mosquito that breeds in small household water containers, as you said, palm leaves, all of that sort of thing. Not only does it spread dengue fever, and luckily enough we haven't got these viruses here, but Zika, yellow fever, and a number of other unpronounceable viruses are all capable of being spread by that particular mosquito. So if those viruses actually come here, or, someone that's got it comes here, gets bitten by that mosquito, they breed, it gets passed on, it would be a very good idea for people to walk around their properties, look for those water containers, dog bowls that aren't used an awful lot. And the reason is in gullies and creeks you've got fish that'll get the wrigglers, but you don't have them in those sort of containers. So it's just a shout out to everyone. It's just time to have a look around because, look, dengue is bad enough, but those others, if they eventually get here, could cause quite a lot of damage.
Thanks, Councillor Dara. Are there any other speakers? No, Councillor May, speaking for.
Yes, just very briefly, Your Worship. Wanted to really call out the MECC. This department has been one of the most impacted with COVID-19 and the restrictions and the requirements of running the facility have been onerous on the team over there. The team itself with unavailability of staff and then lack of even being able to employ new people has really impacted on the operations. But it's really great to see this month only one red light in the whole of the reportable program here, and that was around our conferences and conferences program, which is starting to rebuild. So I just really wanted to give a big shout out to the team over there who have done a fantastic job under very duress circumstances, and also securing the naming rights sponsor for the Wine and Food Day, and it's got quite a ring to it, Wisely Wine and Food. That is a great achievement as well to see that event continue on in the high standard that it does.
Yeah. Further questions? Sorry, further speakers? No further speakers. I'll put the motion then. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Thank you. 11.4.1 is the under Development Services, the Mackay e-scooter hire business tender review and recommendation. It's come to council. It's quite a self-explanatory document. Of course, this came about after a briefing to council. Following that briefing, we went out to tender. This is the result of it. Are there any questions? No questions. Would somebody like to move the adoption? Councillor Englert moves. Councillor Mann seconds. Councillor Englert.
Thank you, Worship. The officers have been looking at this concept for a number of years, but I like to think that their observation of a particular councillor scooting around Darwin for several hours without any incident or damage to property motivated them to put it back on the agenda. So if you travel around the state, the country, anywhere these days, you'll see these electric scooters strategically placed around city centres. We, from a tourism perspective, we tell people to come to Mackay, come to the region, but we don't tell them don't forget to hire a car when you get here because we are a little bit spread out. Our city centre precinct is the same footprint size as Brisbane City. So getting around, if you can't find a taxi, and Ubers aren't very common at this point, these scooters do give an option to go around and experience the environment you're visiting. And I've got to say that if it wasn't for my personal experience in Darwin, I wouldn't have got to have seen half the things that Darwin was promoting as to visitors. So, they are a bit topical. You either love them or you hate them. Ostentatious colours, but there is a number of conditions put into this tender, and that will be that they'll be operated in the city centre, Mackay Waterfront, Blue Water Trail, Kaneland Central, Mackay Harbour, North Mackay incorporating the Goose Ponds Trail, Mackay Base Hospital Precinct and Botanical Gardens. There's been a lot of emphasis put on safety and parking zones, and there will be geofencing, no-go zones and slow zones. So frustratingly, when it was time to evacuate Darwin, due to a COVID scare, the Premier gave us till 12 o'clock to get to the airport. I wasn't able to find any taxi. I was able to find one of these scooters, and at 7 kilometres per hour, I was able to flee back to my hotel and make it to the airport before the ratepayers had to pay for me to be in lockdown for 2 weeks. So there will be slow zones in the Mackay City Centre, Kaneland Central and Botanical Gardens. and exclusion zones. These things won't be able to be operated everywhere. So BEAM is the successful tender. The submission met all the required criteria and the highest quantitative score. So I'd like to see us go ahead and this is a 12-month trial with an option for a further 12 months. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but I think we should give it a go.
Thanks very much, Councillor England. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? Councillor Bella, speaking for.
I am speaking for it, but I do have reservations with regard to this. Rarely is something inherently good or bad in itself. It's a matter of how it's implemented. I have some serious questions in having read through it and BEAM's proposal with regard to the number of people that they're willing to, that they're intending to employ. As we know, filling vacancies in Mackay is problematic and impacting us in many, many areas. I ask questions with regard to this, and I do believe that the reply BEAM has given us with regard to that is, I'll put it quite bluntly, it's unicorns and fairy dust. The idea of flying someone from Adelaide to work here, my question is, where are you going to put them? Their service level is dependent upon having that number of people. My questions with regard to what a lack of staff would do to those service levels were not satisfactorily answered. So from my point of view, the idea in itself is good, but I have some pretty serious questions as to how it's going to go, and I would like to make sure that we monitor this quite strongly. These service levels should not be allowed in any way to be lowered, and if they can't keep up those service levels, we need to do something to make sure the residents of our area aren't impacted by the things mentioned here. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bella, and that's noted. Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion is carried. Thanks very much. Not much on the list of the agenda. There's no engineering and commercial infrastructure reports, no receipt of petitions, there's no tenders, there's no notified motions today, there's nothing in the public gallery. Late business. Does anybody have late business? Councillor Mann, late business.
Look, I just wanted to make mention of a presentation we attended yesterday where Bernice Wright was presented with a Pride of the Region award. That came about as a recommendation from Character and Heritage Advisory Committee, and was to have been done at the Heritage Awards, but Bernice wasn't able to be there. And it was very low key, but it was absolutely lovely to join with Bernice and Peter and their daughter Angela in being able to recognise Bernice for her significant contribution to heritage and history in this region over many, many years. And we did reflect on the the award she received in Brisbane. I think it was 2017, where a Lifetime Achievement Award was awarded to her by the National Trust for exactly this, that for her work in our region in recognising heritage and history. And I think it's really good that ABC have been able to record oral history with her for a number of years, and we have had the benefit of her researching any sort of project that council asked her to do, as well as many other organisations as well. So it was lovely to be able to be there, to actually provide for her favourite foods, which are Burns pies and caramel tarts, and just enjoy an hour or so with her and Peter, because they have been quite unwell lately. And I think Bernice was saying she was quite nervous, but she certainly came out with some really classic one-liners as well, which didn't seem to indicate that she was nervous at all. So it was very, very well received, and I think it was an honour for her to receive that award and to be acknowledged like that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mann. Late business, Councillor Bell.
During the week last week, I received an email from a lady whom I should just call Beth, who had a few concerns, and I'd like to thank her for sending it in. She was talking about, well, basically everyone's out planting trees and protecting trees. I'm going to talk about the complete reverse. And I'm asking people to think about removing some trees and not planting them. She spoke about the African tulip tree, and there are still quite a few around. It's actually regarded as a pest. It spreads like wildfire. But what a lot of people don't realise is that it is quite toxic to bees. Now, there are some people that understand this, but it's actually not toxic to bees. It's toxic to our native bees. And they've done studies where on every flower of certain trees, they've found up to 4 dead native bees in it. So the nectar is highly toxic to them. Our native bees are not exactly abundant at the moment. Beth asked me whether I could raise this in council, as I'm doing, and have both a council and a public awareness about this tree. So I just say to anyone, if you've got one of them, they're quite easily recognisable. If you're not sure, go onto Facebook, onto Google, get an image. There's lots of them around, and consider the removal. You can always plant something that's actually a good thing for a native bee. And if you're going to plant a tree, please don't consider this tree.
Thanks, Councillor Ballard. Further late business? Councillor Bonaventura.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just thought I'd mention a couple of things. Firstly, on the shitbox rally will arrive in Mackay on Friday, Your Worship. Now, 250 cars, less a few that might not have been reliable enough to make the distance, will arrive from 4 p.m, maybe 5 p.m. or 6 p.m, depending on how much drama they've had on the last day with reliability issues. So I just invite residents to drop around, give them a big welcome. These 250 cars will have raised over, or have raised, and have raised over $2 million for cancer research in this event. Now, the fun doesn't stop there. Saturday morning, there'll be an auction of the leftover cars that people aren't willing to drive back to. They started in Wollongong, by the way, that they aren't willing to drive back home. And some of these competitors have come from as far away as Western Australia. So these cars are reliable because they've got here. They have travelled 3,600 kilometres in 6 days. So, you know, I can attest to their reliability. So if you're looking for a cheap runabout, this could be a good chance to get one. I'll be there because I need a car.
You'll have a few more cars in your garage after this.
There'll be none.
Your Worship, I need a car for the next rally, which starts in Mackay in October. So I could be looking at buying one of those to compete in. And then if you've still got time, I think the Italian Street Party starts on Saturday afternoon, and it's back after a 2-year absence, of course. And there'll be lots of activities there. There's something for everyone, whether it's you know, the food and drink you're chasing, or catching up with friends, or enjoying the music and the dance. We'll just be there for the Italian ambience of the afternoon and evening. So I invite everyone to attend and enjoy that if they have time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bonaventura. Further late business? Councillor Green.
Thank you, Your Worship. On Monday morning, I was invited down to the neighbourhood hub on George Street, and they have ran their first human library initiative. And so when I got the invitation, I thought, what's that? So what it is that they've invited some local residents to come and be a book, a human book. And what it was about, if you've ever seen the ABC show, You Can't Ask That, it's kind of in the same vein. It's about opening up those deep questions with people in our community who may be different to us, who may look different, may have different life experiences, may come from somewhere else. And it's about fostering inclusion and having a better appreciation for where people come from and what their stories are. And I thought it was an amazing initiative, and I really left there with my cup full for the rest of the week. They would love to run more of these, and I'm sure if you know of any great people in our community that have a good story to tell and to share, then please reach out to the neighbourhood hub, or go along yourself and participate in these conversations. I found it incredibly valuable and worthwhile.
Thank you very much, Councillor Green. Further late business? Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Worship. A couple of things I would like to raise in late business today. First one being the Mayor's Ball is on Saturday night, and I believe is fully sold out, so we're not doing a plug for tickets, but we are doing a plug for the money that is raised from the Mayor's Ball going to Heart Kids and Ronald McDonald House. So 2 great causes in our community, and I'm sure that there will be lots of dollars flowing on Saturday night to help boost those funds for those 2 charities. So we look forward to that. And I too want to reiterate what Councillor Mann said about Bernie's right. an absolute legend in our community. Her historical knowledge and ability to research and then put that out to the rest of the community has been invaluable over the years, and it was an absolute privilege to be part of her receiving the Pride of the Region award, along with yourself, and Councillor Justin Inglet as well was also present. So it was really fantastic that we were able to do that. And lastly, I would like to present to you a few councillors and the delegates of the Services Union had a small morning tea yesterday to celebrate the award-winning application, if you like, for the most active and effective workplace committee. So this is our local committee that has won statewide from the Queensland unions this award, and the Services Union here at Mackay Regional Council took that out, and they have asked me to pass that on to you for hanging in a very suitable place to display that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks very much. No, that's a great achievement.
It is a fantastic achievement. They worked really hard as a team to make sure that they do actively and effectively interact with the workforce.
Congratulations. Thanks very much. We'll make sure that's displayed. Thank you very much. Is there any further late business? No further late business? There's no confidential reports to consider today. So that's it, councillors. Thanks very much. Declare the meeting closed. Thank you, councillors.